Welcome to Backyard Bows. After you watch the review, head over to our Instagram page and get yourself an entry to win the APX by Experience. Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and we finally, I love firsts. So we have our first budget bow from Xpedition. If you've been following along recently, you would have, maybe you'd seen the X Lite. If you haven't watched that review, I would go back and watch that. That is just such a cool bow, very unique. I got to put it in the field. I tagged a really nice deer over in Illinois with it. It was awesome to put it in the field, and kind of reflecting back on that bow, I think one of the things that stood out to me the most was the sequence of the shot. You know, I drew back, I held, I released, very small window, all within like 3 seconds. The bow performed well, and I'm not talking myself up, I'm talking the bow up. Like looking back, I was like, man, I don't even remember, but I just remember it being so effortless. Like I don't remember the shot, but it was just, I was confident. So that's definitely a bow. If you haven't watched that review, go back and watch that one. The X Lite 31, awesome bow from Xpedition. I love seeing different companies, and I've talked about this several times. I love seeing different companies put out stuff, put out bows that are competitive, because that's what we need. I mean, the ball's in our court. The more manufacturers there are, the more competition there is, the better quality stuff we're gonna get for the better price, okay? And I know prices have been going up, but that's why I love these budget bow categories, because I've also said this before. If you, flagship bow, or budget bows from nowadays, you know, our budget bows 2023, they will outperform flagship bows from 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, we just have such great quality stuff for a good price. This category is my favorite out of all the reviews we do. I love the budget bows. And looking at this first glance, the specs, the price, this is a good one. I feel like this is another good find. This is also something that they've ran for several years. So this has been on their website, and I think it will stay there until they find a successor, but I think they're just gonna keep running this. And the Experience. So they have the APX, which is $699. I think it has a little bit more speed. I'm not gonna talk about the quality because I haven't seen the Experience, but then you have the Experience, a little bit larger brace height, a little bit less speed, but it's $499. So two nice categorized, priced budget bows they have here, but the specs on this are awesome, okay? So it comes in right at 4 pounds. That's really nice by itself, okay? A nice solid weight. You can dress it up how you want without getting it too heavy. You have only 2 draw weight options, 60 and 70 pounds. Okay, it looks like it has a nice long bolt in here, so you probably get 8 to 10 turns out of it. It probably fluctuates somewhere between 15 pounds. The draw length. These cams on the APX go from 26 out to 30, so I'm right at the end of that mod. And when I drew it back earlier, I will say it's a hair short, 30 inches. I like to feel a little bit longer, but I think I'm bringing my face to it a little bit, but I'm maxed out, so I can't go any further on that. So it gets up to 340 feet per second, and it has a 33-inch axle to axle. I think it's gonna be a nice stable platform that kind of brings the heat. This is right after we just did the Ethos, so almost the same specs as the Ethos. So I'm excited. So this will be kind of similar specs for half of the price. And I love that we're doing these back to back. You have a nice little machined riser. The grip on these, very similar. They all kind of have this bow shape, no pun intended, to the grip. It grows on you. It's something that you either like or you don't. You know, it's like, I feel like that's with every bow. You pick it up, you either love the grip and then you're like, ooh, this feels really good, or this isn't necessarily what I like. You got some aluminum limb pockets, a nice limb dampener in there. You have what we see on all the budget bows, which is that cable guard. It's kind of that sliding plastic piece on that rod. If that ever gets sticky on you, I know I've mentioned it before, but there's a little trick. You can rub some newspaper on it, like some old newspaper on that rod, kind of repress that, rub it on there. That'll kind of help with that stickiness. That came from one of you guys. And then you have your string stop. You got a nice little dampener on the back side of here. I love to see that. I also just mentioned that in that Elite video with the Ethos. That's like one of the best placed dampeners you can get. I don't know why every bow doesn't have that on the back of there. And then you have your module system, pretty easy to change in and out. You got your 2 screws, you got A through I in the positioning. There's a little graph that matches with that, just like most of them. And then you have a sliding limb adjustment. Okay, that limb stop. So that limb stop, if you play with that and kind of tinker with that back and forth, you can also adjust that let off, which is set at 75, but you can also adjust that let off a little bit as well by moving that up and down, top and bottom. But let's go ahead. Let's just get to shooting. You can't beat the weather right now. Fall is here. It feels so good outside. On days like today, I feel like I can shoot more than when it's in the heat of the summer when we do those reviews. I'm telling you, budget bows are just that's my category. I love finding good price stuff, good quality stuff for those of you out there who are avid outdoorsmen like myself and don't necessarily at this moment in time have the money to be spending on these flagship bows. What gets you in the field? And that's why I love this category. So I put that old IQ sight on there that I had on my Creed from years and years and years ago. I love that sight. Has a nice big sight housing, and then it comes stacked with 5 pins. I love that. We got the Trophy Ridge Whisker Biscuit, got that Bee Stinger micro hex on the front, a nice little budget bow type setup as well for the accessories. So you can kind of hear it, so that plastic rod will slide and kind of stick. That's where it kind of grips. I have a slight bend in my elbow, but again, I maxed out at the 30 spot. So each bow company is different, you know. It's just because it's set at 30, you put it all on a draw board, it's not always going to line up the same. I don't think I mentioned it, but on the Ethos from last week, all those draw links are from 80% let off. So it says it goes out to 31, but if you go to the 31 position at 90% let off, you actually get 31.5. So again, it's all a little bit different, but this one feels a hair short. The draw is stiff, but this thing is at 33 inches axle. Actually is going to get 340 on the IBO, which is nice. So it's a good stiff pull. Some of you mind that, some of you don't. But once you get it back, it does kind of ease up, let you hold nicely. And, you know, once you get here, it kind of lets off real nice. I like that. You know, and then I think it wants to torque a little bit to the left. Nothing you can't counter. Just kind of a natural torque to the bow. Let's do one more and then we're gonna step outside. I'm telling you, today is perfection. If I didn't like you guys so much and love this review process, I'd be in a tree right now testing out that new Ethos. But I told myself we were gonna try and get a whole bunch more content to you guys. So we're trying to put in as much as we can and give you everything. Cause man, we got a big lineup of things to come. So last one. And honestly, it's not bad in the hand. The shot cycle is cleaner than the draw cycle. Not bad in the hand. Little bit of kind of torque at full draw. Nothing you can't visually reset your level, you know, and kind of set yourself up. But you can tell it's kind of humming too. So I can't wait to put it through that speed test. But let's get a freestyle shoot in real quick. So on to the only reason, not the only reason, the main reason why we started Backyard Bows, so we could shoot a lot of bows. We got this thing, every time we do a budget, but we kind of dress it up in budget bow fashion. It's like I found this old sight that I had that I wanted to put on it instead of buying a new one. You got the Trophy Whisker Biscuit, and then, you know, maybe medium range stabilizer. Again, trying to emulate somebody who's trying to piece together a hunting bow without breaking the bank. Something I just did right before I stepped out here is I tinkered with that let off on the top and bottom. I had it right on the A, and as you heard me say inside, it felt short at 30. I adjusted it a little bit farther out because there was a little bit extra room, and it kind of gave me a little bit of that length I was looking for. So it feels a little better in full draw. But we'll go bore at 30. But what it did is it kind of gives you that dump at the end, you know. So I adjusted it, you know, to a higher let off. And it kind of gives you that jerk at the end, which I usually don't like, but I also don't like shooting too short. So I wanted to, you know, feel comfortable at full draw. Let's go buck. Got a kicking buck, which is at 30. I'll tell you what, the hold on this is great. It has some really nice specs though. So for me at a longer draw length, like man, the hold really varies from bow to bow depending on that bowstring angle, because I have such a long draw. So but the specs on this are really nice. It holds very well at full draw. It's a little bit top heavy, but all that smooths out as you kind of draw back. I feel like and again, we've talked about control the last couple reviews. You went from the Endure, very little control, to the Ethos from Elite that I had, you know, I felt like I was just, like I mentioned, it made me feel like I was a good archer, you know. And then this, it's kind of right in there in between, but it's very nice. So for the price range, I would say this shoots more like a flagship bow. So again, I love the budget bow column. I love finding bows that are out there that are in circulation. That, you know, this one they've had for a couple years, but it's still on their website. It's still that mid-price bow for them, and they're still selling it. Multiple other places you can find these for the price range. This is a really good find as well. Let's step over to Gazebo. We'll shoot some longer shots. The range is set. It is so pretty out, man. The trees are finally changing colors. Fall is here. Season is here. Best time of year. 3D ladder all the way up, 20 to 50. We'll stop at those 40-yard targets and do that full draw stall. And I'm going to shut up and we'll get to shooting. So even though I'm not a huge fan of that dump at the end of this draw cycle, I do like that it gave me the length that I wanted to. So if you're a 30-inch guy and you heard that first part, take that in consideration. You know, so again, right here, it goes let go. So I'm holding it a lot less weight, which I think will be good for that full draw stall in a second. But man, it really makes that draw cycle a little harsh towards the end. But man, this thing holds really nice. So the arrows are coming off here nice. It has a little thud. It, you know, we'll see when we get inside. It does have a little smack to it. But the shot cycle feels good. All the arrows, I feel confident and comfortable kind of shooting it. The grips on these, there's such a big curve to them. It's just something that, like, it's like an acquired taste. You'd either like it or not, or you just have to shoot it so much that you'd have to get comfortable with it. But we'll go Gray Wolf, which is 35. So now we got Mama Black Bear, 40 yards, and then we'll do the full draw stall on the little one. So now full draw stall, 60-second hold, Black Bear stability test. This is the ultimate stability test. The other one is, that I do is kind of like, I call it a quick 50 when we get up on the elk. But, and it's funny because the X-Lite, when I got that deer on opening day with the X-Lite, that's kind of what that resembles, is like you have these little windows. Sometimes you got to draw, set, and release within moments. So I like practicing that, but I think it also, out at 50 yards, that'll show and factor into that stability and kind of give some truth to that stability as well. So at 90% let off, that holds, you know, it kind of sits in there and just kind of lets off, and it holds right in there. The stability of the bow is not bad at all. It's it kind of held its own through that whole 60 seconds. It wasn't a pain to hold back. Again, I'm holding it at a lesser weight than usually what I test these bows at. But that was, I feel like that was a really well-placed shot. But that also, you know, shows you, like, I'm usually doing the full draw stalls at 80% let off. So going to 90%, it really changes it up for you. It really allows you to hold it, you know, even that 5 pound different, hold for a lot longer with a lot more stability. So I love the past 3 bows that we've done. So you got a $299 bow, very little stability. Obviously quality is down. $699, a little bit better quality, metal limb pockets, a little bit more well put together bow, riser, etc. You get a little bit better hold and stability. And then you go to the Ethos, you got the best quality, best stability. So for those of you who are wondering, what are you getting for the money? Inevitably, 100% quality, you're getting the best quality of things. And I think you're gaining a little stability. So we'll see though, let's go 50 yards. I'm not gonna lie to you, this thing shoots really nice. I got a whisker biscuit on there. This thing feels good. It just feels good. Some bows just feel good. I think this is a great bow. It has some wonderful specs for a larger guy. Let's do a quick 50. I like the balance of the bow, because it's very thin. It doesn't have that wide of limb pockets and limbs, which we hear about constantly that it needs. The balance of this bow is very nice. Poking that heart. I mean, I'm gonna shoot one more. This is just fun to shoot. Again, budget bows get me going because I know 80% of us, what we're looking for is the best quality, you know, for your dollar. Something else I love on this bow is you have any bow that has laser engraved lines to get that lateral and vertical arrow. That's so helpful. I love that. You know, again, anything like that, it's like, why not? You know, it just kind of just makes things easier if you're trying to set up your rest by yourself. You know, you don't have somebody to do it, and you want to try. Like, that's nice too. I love that that's on there. I forgot to mention that earlier. But man, it feels really good. Very fun to shoot. The worst part about it is the draw. Okay, so that plastic piece catches on that cable rod, that kind of jerks it. It's a little stiff at the beginning, then it dumps on you at the end. But again, that's preference. That's not gonna do anything to your hunt. You know, the more you shoot that, the more you anticipate kind of letting off your pressure at the end to kind of ease into the I mean, the more you shoot it, the more linear that would get. But if the worst part's the draw cycle, I'm okay with that. The stability's great. You get good quality and for a good price. So 340 on the IBO. We have my hunting arrow, 500 grains, 30-inch draw, 70 pounds, okay? Target range, 280, which I think this is going to be pretty close. We got 272. Again, target range 280, 272, that's perfect. You can make some minor adjustments to the arrow grain and get yourself up to 280 or beyond. So, and you'll see in a second when we shoot that lighter one how much it jumps, but 274. So we're gonna go ahead and go 270. I went all the way through. I'm gonna get a new bag. 270. Which is that 7 out of a 10. Let's go heavier one first. So now we're gonna bump up that arrow grain. We got about 560, which I talk about this too, man. Guys hunting these crazy wide ranges of arrows. Got buddies that hunt with a 600 grain arrow, and then buddies that hunt with the 380. Everyone likes their own thing. I don't know. It's it all just depends. You're gonna have to find something that works for you, and ultimately the draw weight and draw length of your bow. So 560 grains. That's almost down right under 260, so 257. And then now we have a 400 spine full metal jacket. This one goes all the way down to 440. Okay. Which is still a really nice hunting arrow. 300. So, I mean, honestly, this is my first day tinkering around with this bow. My first impressions of it are awesome. I love finding well-priced bows for you guys. I mean, this thing all around, between the hold and speed, they have something really nice here. Xpedition, no wonder they've kept this one on the shelf life for a little bit, because it's a good one. Let's see how loud this thing is. So we got our 3 arrows. We'll do our decibel reading. This one seemed a little loud outside, but you know me, I have known to have been wrong. But I think it's going to be 92-ish. .6. .8. I think that's more realistic, because man, it seemed outside, and outside it's hard to tell because you're, you know, in the open, but it still had like a little sound where you're like, man, this is louder than usual. Or sometimes you get a bow that you're like, wow, this is really nice and quiet, and you can tell. 91.7. So right there in the 92s, like I was thinking. So on the louder end, so I guess that's another negative, you know, if we're categorizing things, that's another negative. But I would much rather take a hair loud, not so smooth draw cycle than any instability in the full draw, and while getting those nice speeds that it got. I think that's a great balance of give and take there. Xpedition APX. I've seen this bow for a long time. Between what we can get our hands on and how quickly, and just kind of the list that I've made from the beginning just kind of has all factored into what bows that we do. I would say that this is one I wish I would have done a little sooner, especially since we haven't done a ton from Xpedition. But it's better late than never, you know. So thanks for sending me this, Xpedition. This is just, I love this category of bows, and it's my favorite. I love good finds, you know, and this, the NV Blackout, you know, this, I mean, all for that really good price, great quality bows. You easily dress this up for under $1,000. I mean, man, you can't beat that nowadays. And once we do a budget bow category, I'm not gonna keep it to 2023. I'm just gonna do like a general top 5 budget bows that I have found since we've started this. I'll tell you right now, this will be in there. Let's just start from the top. 272, 7 out of 10 for the speed. Awesome speeds. Bump down that arrow weight up. It was pumping close to 300, okay? I only shot one shot, so I don't know if it would have fluctuated, but that was awesome to see. And then you go quality. I gave it a 7. Very nice quality for a budget bow. This cable guard, that kind of drove me crazy how that thing wouldn't even slide on there. Even after the newspaper rod on there, it just kept sticking. Kind of made that draw cycle a little harsher, but most of the bow, including the riser, everything else, the limb pockets, the limbs, it's just very high quality. You're getting borderline flagship bow, you know, for the price. Like you're almost there. Appeal, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I gave the Blackout MV an 8, and I liked it a little bit more. So I kind of had to go right back down a little bit. It's nice. It only comes in black, but I have a style just like you guys. So 7 out of 10 there. Technology, I gave it a 6 out of 10. Right at that bottom basic. Right at the top of the bottom basic, I would say. Nice adjustments. You got a little bit of play with that let off, and then it fluctuates, you know, a nice weight. I mean, all around, it's just kind of right there with the basic compound bows that we see nowadays. And then I gave it an 8 for performance. Stability, most important thing. We can talk about it over and over again. Everything else to me is an opinion. You know, the draw cycle. It's what you like, preference, you know. It's nothing to do with, you know, the consistency, your groups, all of that is gonna directly factor into the hold at full draw, okay? And this bow had amazing hold at full draw. Great specs that played into that. It was really comfortable. It does have a real nice, sleek, slim 2 limbs and limb pocket, which usually we see really wide ones these days, but it still held like a flagship bow. I mean, once you have it back, once you can get past that kind of jerky draw cycle and past that hump and you get it set up, it feels wonderful. The arrows came out of there nice. You can get some really nice speeds out of it. Like I mentioned inside, I had sacrificed the draw cycle for the hold any day, you know, and then to achieve the speeds that it's getting, awesome. All for potentially, if you have a couple of these other pieces, accessories, potentially for $700. To me, that's awesome. You can still find them in many different places. If you're interested in one, hit some of those links below. We'll throw some of those up there. We found some in various different sporting goods store, but man, they still sell them. Xpedition still has it on their website. I probably think they'll stick this one around for a little bit. But this is a great find. Hopefully this was helpful in your bow buying process. If you have not shot this or the experience, go out and shoot them. I think that you will be surprised. Also from Xpedition, that X-Lite, that thing was absolute blast to shoot. I wish I could shoot the X-Lite 33. I only got to shoot the X-Lite 31, but man, Xpedition's another one of those companies that I just keep right here. You know, I'm just waiting just to kind of hear what they're gonna do next. You know, they got a nice flagship bow out too. But I think they're one of those companies on the cusp of like making that leap, or just producing their, you know, bows that are great bows that they kind of put out one there occasionally and keep some more online than others and for longer periods of time. But they're right on the verge, I feel like, of putting out some really competitive bows. So hope to hear more and see more from Xpedition. If If you guys got anything else that you think is worth a review, send it over. See you next week.